Live from Burbank, the media capital of the world.
Good evening and welcome everybody, and Happy New Year to my colleagues, staff, and most important to the residents and people viewing in. Happy New Year. Welcome 2021. May we have a great, better year. Again, good evening and welcome to an online meeting of the City Council today, Tuesday, January the 5th, 2021. In order to balance the health risks associated with COVID-19 and the public's right to conduct the people's business in a transparent and open manner during the current state of emergency and in the interest of public health and safety, council members will be participating in an online city council meeting. The public will not be able to physically attend today's meeting. In lieu of in-person attendance, the city is providing alternatives for viewing and participating in city council meetings. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and join me? Please place your right hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, Madam City Clerk, and Happy New Year. Great to see you this 2021. Can you please conduct the roll this evening?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, and happy to see you as well and everyone else. Happy New Year. Councilmember Anthony?
Unmute Constantine.
I see him.
I'm
Okay.
present and accounted for.
Thank you. Councilmember Schultz?
Present and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Councilmember Springer?
Here. Happy New Year.
Councilmember Talamantes? Vice
Happy New
Mayor Talamantes, sorry. Vice Mayor.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. And Mayor Frutos.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Folks, there will be one period of general public comment this evening. If you would like to participate, please call now at 818-238-3335. Again, the number is 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until we begin the public comments. This evening, we have three announcements. The Community Development Department is hosting an online community workshop Thursday, January the 21st, 2021 at 6 p.m. with regards to the Downtown Burbank Transit-Oriented Development Specific Plan. This is the second of three workshops, and we will cover many aspects of downtown Burbank, including transit connections, safe streets, and parking. Staff will also share initial ideas for the future of San Fernando Boulevard. Residents can watch the workshop live on the Burbank Channel YouTube page, and you can find out more about the online meeting and how most important to participate in this meeting of the Downtown Burbank TOD specific plan by visiting the project's website at downtownburbanktod.com or contact the project planner, Leonard Bachet, at 818-238-5250. Again, that's project planner Leonard Bachet at 818-238-5250. The city clerk's office is now open for the passport services, but it's only by appointment. Please visit burbankca.gov/passport to schedule an appointment or call the city clerk's office at 818-238-5851. Again, the city clerk's office number is 818-238-5851. And by the way, Madam City Clerk, your passport program that you brought to the city and created, it speaks volumes, because more and more people that I have run into only say high regards of you and your staff. Thank you for what you've done. You're a lifesaver, because if not, the residents would have to go, most of them would go down to the Sherman Oaks Post Office off Sherman Way and the 405 freeway. So, Madam City Clerk, hats off to this project that you, or this program that you brought to the city. My hats off to you and your staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next item. The city clerk's office is currently accepting applications for 2 vacant positions on the Transportation Commission for unexpired terms ending July 31st, 2021. If you are interested in serving on the commission, and this is the Transportation Commission, please, the deadline to submit your application online for the first vacancy, because we have 2 vacancies, is Friday, January the 15th, 2021 at 5 p.m. The deadline to submit the online application for the second vacancy is Monday, January 25th, 2021. So don't get confused. There are 2 vacancies. One closes Friday, January the 15th, and the second one closes January the 25th at 2021. And we do look at the timestamp of your application. So please, if it's 5:01, I apologize. They generally don't get accepted. So please heed your warning. We'd like you to apply, but make sure it's in timestamp before 5 o'clock. For more information, please contact the city clerk's office or visit the city's website at burbankca.gov/BCC application. Again, that website is burbankca.gov/BCC application. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything to report this evening to the members of the public?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
Thank you. I do have one item, and I'd like to call up our Emergency Management Coordinator, Eric Baumgartner, to provide a brief update, COVID update for us and a vaccine update.
Good evening, sir, and welcome. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, I want to give a brief report on our current status as well as a brief hospital update and a brief overview of the current vaccine status.
Sir,
Here.
if we can talk into the mic. One council member can't hear you on his computer. Thank you.
I'm going to give a brief report on our current status, our hospital update, and then a brief overview on our vaccine as it is to date. Current status, currently Burbank has 5,579 cases as of yesterday. That's a 1.3% 24-hour increase over the day before, which sits upon what we have been seeing as about a 1% increase daily, which is on par for what the county is also seeing overall in general. Currently, there's been 123 fatalities in the city of Burbank. Over 65 of those fatalities have been linked to just congregate care facilities within the city of Burbank, and there's been approximately 827,000 cases overall in the county of Los Angeles. Currently, our hospital is utilizing components of their surge capacity plans. St. Joseph's has been operating at approximately 75% hospital occupancy and about 85% ICU occupancy. Approximately 50% of the patients are COVID positive. Hospital census does change daily and fluctuates a couple percent plus or minus, so that's an average of what they've been operating at for the past few days. There's been a triage screening tent that's been set up outside the ER to screen patients before they enter the ER. This has been set up to basically keep COVID positive patients from intermingling as much as possible from patients that are deemed not to be COVID positive. In doing so, this has also helped with our ambulance traffic and our flow at the hospital. You may have heard in the media that they have been saying there's been outrageous wait times at certain hospitals, up to 8 hours for ambulances to offload. That's not been the case locally. With the work of St. Joseph's and the way that they're triaging and screening patients, ambulances at St. Joseph's are not reporting anything more than what they would normally see during any busy time of the year at our emergency room. Currently, vaccine locally in LA County, phase 1 administration of the first doses of Pfizer began approximately the week before Christmas. Phase 1A administration of the first doses of Moderna began the week following Christmas. The Moderna vaccine has been used primarily for non-clinical personnel such as first responders in the fire and EMS areas at this time, and the city of Burbank is, along with everybody else, receiving their vaccine for fire and EMS. One note that I'd like to point out is, other than just the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles fire departments, the city of Burbank, along with one other smaller city, are the only cities that are actually doing all of their doses in-house and received all of our doses up front and are administering them to our own personnel. At this time, Pfizer, again, is only being used for healthcare workers in the clinical setting because of the ultra-low cold storage requirements, and they're still working out the phase 1B and 1C criteria. At this time, we know that law enforcement will fit into 1B along with a couple other sectors. However, they are still working out the details of phase 1B and 1C, as well as the timing of phase 1 and 1B and 1C. And that's all I have to report at this time.
Council members, no discussion, but if you have a brief 30-second type question that you really want to ask the captain, this is the time. No discussion, just a brief question. Councilmember Springer, you have the mic.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Baumgartner, for your report. Do you have an idea of when the holiday surge will peak?
Holiday surge is going to take anywhere between 5 and 14 days. It all depends on the conversion and viral load. So the shortest time that frame we'll see is about 5 days from any exposure up to a 14-day incubation period. So it varies.
Right. So would it be like maybe mid-January and I just have another question. Will it be given to somebody who's already had COVID, the vaccine? Is that necessary?
So the vaccine, we're not sure when it comes to general public what the criteria will be for who is able to receive it at this time. You still can be vaccinated. However, with the doses still being produced and there being limited supply, there is criteria for previous medical conditions and COVID exposure, and those keep changing. So until we actually have the guidance and we are actually ready to administer to the public, we really won't know.
Thank you.
Councilmember Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that report. I know we all appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, now that the vaccines are rolling out, how's morale with the troops up front?
Morale seems to be fine. Morale has always been positive. The vaccine is definitely reassuring for those that have received it. So it is a positive note on that aspect.
Okay.
Any other council member have a question for Councilmember Schultz?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Baumgartner, thank you very much for the report. We talked very quickly about the figure 85% capacity in the ICU. Could you unpack that term for the public a little bit more?
Sure. So right now, St. Joseph's basically 85% of their ICU beds are occupied, and that's 85% of their staffed ICU beds. So I'm not sure how many total beds they have, but as of staffed ICU beds, 85% are occupied, meaning that they have 15% available capacity for ICU patients as of this time.
Thank you very much. That's the question I was intending to ask. The other last quick one was, does this 85% occupancy rate, is that based upon the surge plan already in effect at Providence St. Joseph's?
So when we talk about capacity and census, we're talking about staffed beds. That really has nothing to do with surge capacity. It actually has to do with staffed beds. So a hospital, for example, could possibly have 400 beds. However, if they only have staffing for 350 of them, then it would be the percentage of the 350 that are occupied. That's not necessarily the physical number of beds in a facility. It's just how many they have staffing for. And right now, if you've been seeing a lot of the reports on the media, a lot of our decrease in capacity isn't necessarily due to physical beds per se, but it's a combination of physical beds as well as staffing. There is a nursing staff shortage in the state of California that was going on prior to the COVID incident, but as well as staff having to isolate and quarantine themselves. At this time, there is a staffing shortage, which reduces the number of staffed beds that are available.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Vice Mayor Telemontes, questions for the captain. Captain, the biggest question from talking to constituents, when is it going to roll out for the general public in the city of Burbank, the residents, and what plan is going to be put in place, and how can the residents find out where we're at and what the procedures and what we're going to do as a city?
At this time, to the general public, there is no plan at this point to roll it out. They're still in production and still having to go through Phase 1A. Then they'll move into Phase 1B, which there are certain members of the public as well as other sectors that will be eligible to receive it. However, they'll have criteria such as age or comorbidity or additional requirements that would put them in a group that would put them in the Phase 1B. And then as Phase 1C rolls out, the age range drops, I believe, to over 65, where the first group in Phase 1B is over 75. And again, with comorbidity and other certain medical conditions. And then for the general public, that won't roll out till after we complete Phase 1B and 1C, which this time we don't have timelines to begin Phase 1B or Phase 1C yet.
Will you be able to work with our PIO to make sure that something gets put on the city's website? Because as we keep moving forward, a lot of questions are coming in from residents that want to know.
As soon as we know exactly what's going on with the vaccine, it will not only be publicized through our PIO, but it'll be widely publicized, I'm sure, through most PIOs as well as the media. So we will get that information out as quickly as we know.
Thank you very much, Captain. And moving on, reporting on closed session, Madam City Attorney, you have the mic.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, and staff. Council met earlier this evening in closed session. One case, existing litigation under Government Code Section 54, 956.9, subsection D1, Shamus versus City of Burbank. It was a personal injury. The council also met under anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54, 956.9, subsection D4, city as potential plaintiff, potential cases 1. The council on a 5-2 vote authorized the city attorney to initiate an action. Once that action is initiated upon inquiry, the specifics of the action and the defendants will be given. That's all I have to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, real quick,
Yes,
Ms. City Attorney, was that a 5-2 vote?
it was 5-0.
5-0.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr.
Vice Mayor. Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Now is the time for general public comment. Members of the public may address the council on any matter concerning city business and/or any agenda item. If you would like to participate, now is the time to please call in at 818-238-3335. Again, the number is 818-238-3335. Remember to lower the volume on your television or computer, and please take your phone off speaker when you deliver public comment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I will stop you after 3 minutes. We ask for your patience as we finish up with one speaker and move to the next. To participate, please call again. The number is 818-238-3335. And also, council members will weigh in if they wish at the end of all the callers. Thank you. Ms. Mullins, do we have any callers on the line for public comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have currently 5 calls in queue, and we're ready to move forward.
Let's beam them in.
Thank you.
Our first caller is Phil Dojic. Phil, you're live with council.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. The city's financial plan is counting on a strong rebound this year with record job gains and strong growth in non-property tax collections, with a strong rebound in the leisure and the hospitality sector. The pace of the recovery, however, will depend on factors that are largely outside the city's control, including the possibility of second wave of the novel coronavirus and changes in social and business practices. The city project balanced budgets for fiscal year 2021 and manageable out-year budget gaps on the assumption of continued economic growth. The pace of recovery will depend on the availability of a vaccine or effective treatments. To make the city's property tax system simpler, clearer, and fairer, while ensuring that there is no reduction in the revenue used to fund essential city services. The city to expect that the economic impact from job losses, low consumer spending, and low tourism activity to keep sales tax collections down in fiscal year 2021. Hotel tax collections are expected to decline by another, we don't know how much the estimate percent in fiscal year 2021, the largest decline ever. The same with the real estate transaction taxes. Despite historically low interest rates, the debt burden needs to be projected to grow in fiscal year 2021 as tax collections fell from the pandemic. In response to calls for policy reform, the plan reflects in cuts and cost shifts affecting the Burbank City Police Department. The actions need to include reducing the overtime budget, including fringe benefits. The city program known as Fair Fares Burbank City to provide discounted MTA survey and bus fares to Burbanks whose incomes are at or below the federal poverty line and who do not already participate in any transportation discount program. For now, so much 3 minutes allotted for speech, and we all need to be ready for this together. Happy New Year, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, City Attorney, City Manager, City Clerk. Best wishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and Happy New Year. Madam City Clerk, the next caller.
Our next caller is Andrew Gersh. Andrew, you're live with council.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, how are you? My name is Andrew Gersh, but you can call me Andy. I am applying for the seat on the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. I wanted to thank the mayor for being there clearly, members of the city council. Wanted to give you just a very brief description of myself. I'm an artist, a glass artist especially. I create stained glass, leaded stained glass, fused glass, whatever glass you need, I can work with you. In fact, I was the one that created the map of Burbank in stained glass that possibly some members of the city council had seen last year. I've spent about 25 years in the entertainment business, ranging from the makeup department, mostly in the set decorating department. I even worked at the Universal prop shop for a while. But with the incredible supportive wife, Sharon, she encouraged me to follow a dream of mine when an opportunity to work at the glass studio arose several years ago. And I jumped on it. It was kind of my heart's desire to work in a facility like that, less stress, wasn't working 14-hour days anymore. I was able to focus more on the things that were very important to me that nourished my soul. And it gave me a lot more time to work with my community, spend more time with my lovely family, 2 sons, and my lovely wife, like I mentioned, and more time building my glass empire, one bloody finger at a time. And as I've just been doing a lot of soul searching the past few years, I've really realized that a possible seat on the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission seems suited perfectly for me. I hope I can bring my best attributes, if given the opportunity and the honor, to really help make Burbank shine even more than it already does. I've outlined a couple ideas that I have. I have other ideas that I'm happy to bring forth. And like I said, this was just hopefully an introduction to who I am, and I hope in the future we can work closely together, and I welcome the opportunity. Thank you all so much for being there.
Thank you for calling in. Madam City Clerk, next caller, please.
Coming through.
Beam them down, Scotty.
Our next caller is Cynthia Peace. Cynthia, you are live with council.
Good evening.
Happy New Year, Mayor Schultz, Vice Mayor Telemontes, Councilman Springer, and welcome to our new council members, Schultz and Anthony. My name is Cynthia Pease, and I'm honored to serve on the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission since its inception. I would like to address the issue of selection of a new appointment to the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. And for the benefit of our new elected officials, I would like to share a little bit about the history regarding cultural arts in the city of Burbank. In 2001, Warner Brothers gave me a check to fund the Media City Ballet Company with stipulation that I would work to raise awareness and appreciation for the cultural arts in Burbank as she characterized as the current residents in Pasadena. In 2006, Mary Alice O'Connor told the Burbank Leader that among her proudest contributions was resurrecting the Starlight Bowl, and an idea she posed to the city manager, Mary Alford, at the time, while working with the Burbank Symphony. In 2007, Laura Zucker, president of the LA Cultural Arts Commission, was so impressed with the BUSD Arts for All program, she offered the city of Burbank a grant that paid for 2 consultants to lead a steering committee that forms the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission as it is today. This commission has evolved into a team of individuals that publish a bi-weekly newsletter and create community art-related events to engage Burbank residents. This year, due to COVID, the commission turned to virtual programming, which has resulted in greater outreach than it ever had before. There is still much work to be done in Burbank to establish a cultural arts footprint. Sister cities have set examples for us to follow. I have communicated to you through email what I consider important in selecting a candidate for this appointment. I hope you have had time to speak with these applicants. Again, I respectfully ask that you seriously consider the highest qualified candidate who has demonstrated their willingness and ability to further arts advocacy and benefit community residents through artist education, promotion, and engagement. Thank you again for all you do, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. Madam City Clerk, next caller.
Being transferred.
Thank you.
Our next caller is Ever Huerta. Ever, you are live with council.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Brutos and City Council. My name is Ever Huerta, and I am a 15-year-old at John Burroughs High School. I am a part of ASB as one of the Student Start Commissioners and the head of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. I come to speak to you all about the attacks that happened at Tin Horn Flats on the 22nd of December. I know you all can't comment much on the topic with the investigation going on, but I come to ask that what will the city do and the police department do to make sure an attack like this doesn't happen again? Due to the attack being motivated by difference of political opinion, and while the attack was going on, racial profanities were being yelled by the attacker. So what will the city do to make sure that all minorities here in Burbank feel safe? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. Madam City Clerk?
One more coming through.
Our next caller is Lucine Simonian. Lucine, you are live with council.
Hi, my name is Lucine Simonian, and I have applied for the vacant position for Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. I wanted to thank dear Mayor Frutos, Vice Mayor Talamontes, and Council Members Springer, Schultz, and Anthony for considering my position. I am a current resident of Burbank, and my 10-year-old daughter is starting her middle school in Burbank. I'm also an active member of Zonta Club of Burbank, servicing its Service and Advocacy Committee. I am also an executive board member of Burbank for Armenia. I'm very happy to be here. And as we know, Burbank is the media capital of the world, and the mission of Burbank Cultural Arts Commission is to stimulate local cultural arts awareness and to ensure quality art experience in Burbank's urban planning initiatives. As a business owner who curates and represents over 45 artists, I believe that my background and my experience with different artists would be beneficial to Cultural Arts Committee. The artists that I represent come from very different backgrounds. There are painters, sculptors, fashion photographers among them. One of the artists is actually a Burbank resident, and recently she was featured on KTLA 5 News. Another one has had her publications as a fashion photographer in Vogue Italy. While pursuing my master's degree in accounting in French University, I became very passionate about art and other cultures, and I would love the opportunity to invest my knowledge, my passion for art, and connections to artists and further benefit Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. Thank you for considering my position.
Thank you for your call. Madam City Clerk?
We have one last caller that's going to be transferred right now.
Great.
Our next caller is Alejandro Pena. Alejandro, you're live with council.
Good evening. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Hi. I just had a brief comment. Just given the pandemic and how common it is for people to work remotely and how dependent they are on internet connections, I was just curious if the city of Burbank has considered some sort of city-sponsored fiber optic system. I know that there's the One Burbank program, but that's limited to business accounts. I know other cities in the country have installed such systems, and I thought that might just be something that that should be considered, treating it more as a utility. So that's about it, really.
Thank you, sir. Madam City Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I believe this concludes our calls. I don't see anyone else in queue right now.
Okay, then I will close public comment, Madam City Clerk. And now is the time for council members for a brief response. And I turn it over to the city manager and city attorney. Nope. Council members, would anybody like to respond back to public comment? I saw Council Member Schultz's first, followed by Council Member Sharon Springer. Go ahead, Schultz, you have the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to first just thank Mr. Dojic, Mr. Gersh, and Ms. Pease. I'll reserve any comment on that agenda item, but I appreciate their calling in tonight and sharing their thoughts, perspective, and the background with regards to the commission. With regards to Mr. Huerta, it's difficult because we cannot comment on an active investigation, but what I can share, at least from my perspective, sitting here as a member of council, and I believe I'm joined by all my colleagues, is that hate has no home in Burbank. We don't stand for that, and we will do everything in our power to create a community that is inclusive and accepting of everyone. We have a long way to go, but together we're going to do that. And I'm really excited to see what you, Mr. Mayor, and what Councilmember Springer are able to accomplish in our new subcommittee on diversity and equity. So with that, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Followed by Councilmember Springer. You have the mic, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to thank everybody for calling in. It's always very helpful, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Anthony, you have the mic, sir.
Yeah, I do appreciate all the public comment coming in, and we'll have a discussion later about the appointment. But to echo Councilmember Schultz's words to Mr. Huerta, we live in a very open-minded city. Burbank is a place of diverse thought, diverse ideas. It's a mixing pot, a melting pot, if you will. And the tolerance here is one of accepting. We know that the city takes in everybody. Anybody who wants to come here can be here. And so we cannot allow this type of abuse and hate speech and negative attitudes and the violence to tear us down. We're better than that, and we will not allow these divisive rhetorics to rip us apart anymore. We sat through many years in this country watching that happen, and Burbank has weathered it and has risen above.
Bring in what was.
With that, if you could just be brief, sir, and just kind of close your last thoughts, Councilmember Anthony. Please close your last thoughts. Just be brief.
I just want to say, in my heart, and I know the other council members feel it, Black Lives Matter, and we are working towards making a more inclusive city. And that will be every day, and we're all doing it. So thank you.
Vice Mayor Talamantes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I too like to wish everybody a happy new year. Thank you for bringing your concerns and just opinions and ideas to us on a weekly basis. I know a lot of you are very engaged with the city council. Some of these items are going to be discussed a little later in the agenda. But also to Mr. Huerta, thank you, Mr. Huerta. At 15 years old, staying engaged with the community is awesome. I really want to compliment you for doing this. And besides, John Burroughs High School. You came from a good high school, my alma mater. So anyway, thank you very much, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I want to thank the members of the public for calling in and sharing your thoughts. And council members, thank you for representing the council with your comments. The only thing I will say to the applicants that'll be waiting for your agenda item, 15 people applied for one position. So we wish you the best of luck. No more comments on that item. Moving on, thank you, council members. Consent calendar. The consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. Ms. Mullins, please read the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Consent calendar, item number 1, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager or his designee to accept grant funds from the state Citizens Option for Public Safety COPS program, accepting $203,473.90 in grant funds and amending the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget by appropriating funds. Item 2, adoption of a resolution authorizing submission of grant application to the United States Bureau of Reclamation of the 2021 Water Smart Drought Response Program, Drought Contingency Plan grant, and authorizing the Burbank General Manager as a designee of the city manager to execute a grant agreement. Item number 3, approval of the proposed city council meeting schedule for calendar year 2021. And that concludes the items on consent. We just need a motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to make a motion, council members? Vice Mayor Talamantes moves the consent. Who seconds it? Second by Councilmember Sharon Springer. Madam City Clerk, please call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Talamantes. Thank you. Councilmember Springer.
Yes.
Councilmember Anthony.
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz.
Yes.
And Mayor Frutos.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to 15 folks that are probably attentively watching the council meeting tonight. Appointment to fill one vacancy on the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission for an unexpired term. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This would bring us to the appointment for the Burbank Cultural Arts Commission. And this was opened on November 16th of 2020. And we began advertising for the Cultural Arts Commission for an unexpired term ending July 31st, 2023, created by the resignation of Commissioner Monica Grove. In order to obtain qualified candidates, a notice of unscheduled vacancy was advertised through the following: the city website, the city council meeting announcements, all social media platform overseen by the city clerk's office, press release to LA Times, Burbank Leaders, and myburbank.com, notice posted at City Hall bulletin board, and community groups and organizations. The deadline to submit application to the city clerk's office was Wednesday, December 16th at 5 p.m. The city clerk's office received 15 applications. And I'm going to read the names into the record. First one is Elliot Gunnan, Melissa Van Meter Noren, Tony Smith, Jason Clark, Nathaniel Barlow, Piper Overbow, Jesse Marsnick, Fuel Dujek, Lucina Simonian, Francisco Taran, Isabel Omero, Andrew Gersh, Liz Warner, Brian Chan, and Christy Linziski. Please note that one of the applicants, Fuel Dujek, selected a second choice for the consideration of appointment to the Transportation Commission. If appointed tonight, his name will be removed from the consideration in the Transportation Commission appointment. And this appointment is tentatively scheduled to come to council on Tuesday, January 26th. So with that, if there's no questions, I'm happy to read the names and start with the vote.
Council members, Councilmember Anthony, question.
I interviewed a number of the candidates, and one had intimated to me that they were going to remove themselves from consideration. Did you get any comments, Madam City Clerk?
No, I'm not aware. Those are names that were submitted. We did not have any official withdrawals from anyone.
Okay, thank you.
But in the future, when you talk to applicants, sir, make sure they send an email directly to the city clerk so we have something on record that they removed. Thank you, sir. You get it. Okay, Madam City Clerk.
Okay, with that, I will read the names and then start taking votes for one at a time. So right now, we're going to take the vote for Elliot Gunnan. That will be none. Melissa Van Meter Noren. Okay. Tony Smith. None. Jason Clark. None. Nathaniel Barlow. 1. Piper Overbow. None. Jesse, and that was Marcernik. Fuel Dojek. Lucina Simonian. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So it looks like
Excuse me, Mayor Frutos, can we make that unanimous?
Okay.
Thank you.
Note for the record, Madam City Clerk, that
5-0.
yes.
Thank you for Ms.
Thank you,
Lucina
Councilmember
Simonian.
Springer. Thank you.
Thank you. So the rest of the list will be Francisco Taran, Isabel Omero, Andrew Gersh, Liz Werner, Brian Chan, and Christy Lazinski. Thank you for that.
I'd like to thank all the applicants on behalf of the entire City Council. Thank you for wanting to be engaged, but this was a tough one when we have 15 applications and only one to select. But please continue to move forward. Stay connected with your council members. You know, talk to them about your interest in serving in boards and commissions. Thank you for applying. Do not give up. Continue to apply. Reach out to the entire council. Thank you for applying. Moving on to item number 5, our next report is for consideration to establish a health department in the city of Burbank and create a health officer position. Will Eric Baumgardner, Emergency Management Coordinator, please present the report to the members of the audience and the council.
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, Eric Baumgartner, Emergency Management Coordinator, City of Burbank Fire Department. Giving a brief overview of our staff report on the consideration of a health officer for the City of Burbank. Currently, the City of Burbank falls under the jurisdiction of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health and the Los Angeles County Public Health Officer. Under that jurisdiction, we are one of 86 cities that fall under their jurisdiction within the County of Los Angeles. There are currently 88 cities within the county. 2 cities have their own public health officer with full-service public health departments. Vernon also has a health officer, but for environmental health purposes only. Within the state of California, there are only 4 health departments that are operated by a city. Those would be the City of Long Beach, City of Pasadena, City of Berkeley, and the City of Vernon. Again, City of Berkeley, along with Long Beach and Pasadena, operate full-service health departments, and Vernon only operates an environmental health services health department. In reviewing the background for having an independent health officer, we looked at several criteria, one being the history behind the health officer. The health officers in the County of Los Angeles actually predate the Los Angeles County Health Department. So the health officers for the cities of Long Beach and the cities of Pasadena actually existed before the Los Angeles County Health Department even was formed and in existence. The history goes back to the late 1800s when most cities had their own hospital, and with that a chief physician who served as their health officer. Once they saw that there was a need for combined public health enforcement and to stop communicable spread, the County of Los Angeles formed a health department and took over the role for most health departments. Most health departments at that time succeeded their departments to the Los Angeles County Health Department, with the exceptions of the City of Los Angeles, the City of Long Beach, the City of Pasadena. The City of Los Angeles subsequently passed over their authority to the County of Los Angeles in the late 1960s. At this time, the County of Los Angeles Health Officer has the authority for enforcing health regulations and establishing health orders within the County of Los Angeles. If the city decides to pursue having a health officer, in addition to having the health officer title and the recognition of the office of health officer, we would have to establish the actual staff, department, and means to enforce and uphold any of the health officer orders, as well as the duties of the health officer, which include inspections and enforcement of certain things within the environmental health realm, as well as communicable disease and health officer orders, such as what is going on with the pandemic at this time. In addition, we'd have to open up certain things such as health clinics, tuberculosis control, and other things such as women and infant children care programs, such as the WIC program, and other establishments such as influenza programs, maternal and child health care, nutrition, and other public health education programs. It's not simply having a health officer that offers health officer orders for the jurisdiction, but also enforcing and carrying out the duties of the health officer. At this time, we didn't look at really the fiscal impact based on what was going on with what we looked at this time. We did compare, though, the fiscal impact compared to two jurisdictions, City of Long Beach and the City of Pasadena. Looking at their respective budgets, the City of Long Beach operates with an annual budget of $120 million. The City of Pasadena operates with an annual budget of $15 million for their public health departments, respectively. City of Long Beach Health Department is substantially higher because their city jurisdiction is much larger and offers different programs than the City of Pasadena does, as well as their marine enforcement and regulations, along with the Port of Long Beach and the coastal waterways and inland waterways along Long Beach. In addition, if we look at the timeline, the establishment of health officer would not help with what is going on currently with our pandemic. So if the issue is to have a health officer to align ourselves with the state and to mandate our own health officer orders in alignment with what is going on with the pandemic, we'd have to serve notice to the County of Los Angeles to end our MOU with the County of Los Angeles, as well as establish a department and operating procedures before a health officer could take place and establish health officer orders for the City of Burbank. At this time, staff is looking for direction on the next steps in this report.
Thank you for the report, sir. Council members, I open the floor to you. Who would like to lead the conversation? Councilmember Anthony.
Thank you for that report. I have two questions. If you could, how much do we as a city pay the county to operate their health services in our city?
Under the MOU, I'm not sure that we actually pay for health officer services themselves. It's a combined MOU that is for certain county-offered services that go beyond just health services. That's basically something that's entered into by all of the cities with general services provided by the county, such as watershed management and other things that their public works does. Their public works is responsible for things like our bridge inspections and things like that. So there's general services that the county enters into with all of the 88 cities, and that falls under that same MOU as one of the combined services.
Is it like a menu of options? Can we as a city pick and choose what we want and what we pay for? Or do we say, we want county services, here's everything you get, If you don't want one of these services, too bad. It's like a cable channel you don't want to watch. You still got to pay for it, even though I'm never using it.
Not necessarily. The way it works is the county assumes certain responsibilities that cities are not in the position to carry out or assume on their own. So it's not that we are electing to choose the county to provide those services for us. If a jurisdiction is unable to provide such services, those are certain services that are assumed by the County of Los Angeles. Unlike what are considered contract services, such as contract service for fire for LA County Fire Department, or contract services for sheriffs with the county sheriffs covering certain law enforcement for municipalities.
I think what I'm asking is if we had our own health department, we wouldn't get a rebate from the county saying, oh, you don't use our health department, here's some of your money back. Like, we're not getting a discount.
Correct. That we don't actually pay for these. These are assumed services, not contract services.
So then how much did you say Pasadena's annual budget was for their?
I believe $15 million is Pasadena's operating budget.
And they come up with that on their own? They don't get county, like the money comes from them?
Correct. They assume that budget along with any grant funding or any programs they have through like nutrition programs that supplement some of their offset.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it.
Vice Mayor Talamantes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. It's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know, right? This is new. I mean, we just started the discussion, obviously, in regards to the pandemic and all the issues that it brought upon us and the county and the state. Obviously, there are other cities, even though there's just a few cities that have gone their own way when it comes to a health department. I wouldn't mind having a feasibility study and just to look at what's available. What are some of the questions that I don't know what to ask might be answered in the feasibility study? For example, obviously cost going forward. How much is it going to cost? How many staff members is it going to include? So it's just a total look at the potential feasibility of having your own health department within our city. I think we can make better decisions with those answers. And I don't mind spending some money to get that information because if it might be useful down the road, if not for us as a council now or a city manager, possibly a future city manager, a future council. They can dust off the report and here it is. They don't have to start from square one. They'll have to update it depending on how long it is. Obviously, this pandemic took 100 years from the other pandemic that was back, right? So it's been 100 years in between. So hopefully I don't want to be around for another one of these. But I would suggest to my colleagues, I would encourage them, unless there are other suggestions, to pursue a feasibility study and see what comes back with that report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome. Councilmember Springer?
I know that Beverly Hills and Santa Clarita, had mentioned, I don't, the possibility of forming their own health department. So I'm wondering if we can just, when they finish with their study, we could just look at theirs. Because I don't support an individual health department because I feel like it takes regional collaboration and it was confusing anyway with Burbank County and state and federal regulations. And if we can just borrow their report, it looks like it's going to cost, I don't know if we can estimate, we're closer to the population of Pasadena. And I wonder does that $15 million include like real estate costs? Or is this just labor cost, the $15 million, and does it include insurance? And when the lockdown happened, people were just going to Pasadena for outdoor dining. And so then they were coming back home here. Is that really collaboration? Like you said, we haven't had a pandemic in 100 years, but, and I know a couple of judges have said that, you know, the ruling was arbitrary. But so somebody goes to Pasadena and they get COVID and then they come back here. So I feel like it has to be regional. So I prefer to just wait. And if we can, if Santa Clarita and Beverly Hills will allow us to look at their report instead of, I think it cost about $25,000 for a feasibility study. And there are 4 independent health departments in the state of California. And the report says why, you know, how that came to be. And I just, at this point, I don't think it's necessary to have an individual city health department. The issue we've had is confusion and some non-compliance.
Thank you, Councilmember Springer. Councilmember Schultz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to, first of all, just acknowledge that it was former Councilmember Murphy who requested this first step report. So I'm glad that he did, and I think it's the basis for a really good discussion we're having tonight. So thank you, Tim. Captain Baumgartner, one thing I wanted to ask was, as I understand it with time frame, even if this is something that we desired to do, it looks like it would be a project years in the making. Is my understanding of that correct?
Correct. We'd have to serve notice to the County of Los Angeles with the intention to end the services with the MOU. We would also have to apply to the State Department of Public Health for actually having our own health department and showing that we actually have the means to carry out the duties of the health officer. And then we would be granted the ability to create our own health department. However, once we have our own health department, we would still have to have it certified by the Department of Public Health to make sure that we can actually carry out those functions. So if this was something that was designed as a short-term goal for the COVID pandemic, it's not something that I see happening in that time frame. It is something that would take definitely some time.
Thank you, and that is what I suspected. Now, similarly on the question of funding, if hypothetically we were to pursue having our own public health department, to Councilmember Anthony's question, we'd also have to look at an independent funding source, whether that be finding it in the budget or finding some other source of revenue. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. To Councilmember Springer's point, one thing, should the body decide that we would like to pursue a feasibility study, one opportunity might be to look at partnering with our neighbors in Glendale and Pasadena in conducting the study and perhaps splitting the cost, because my 2 cents about it are, on the one hand, there is something to be said for local control. On the other hand, and actually, Captain Baumgartner, I'll have you answer this question first. As I understand it, if we were to create our own public health department, at least as it is of today, we would be the only city in California, correct that, the only city in Los Angeles County to affirmatively break away from the County Department of Public Health after the fact. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. It's important to note that the 3 full-service public health departments, Berkeley, Long Beach, and Pasadena, all of those health departments existed before their county health departments. Berkeley was established before Alameda County.
Thank you. That's what I thought. And so my point to Councilmember Springer is if we were in fact going to do that, I understand the balance of having local control, but also the importance of taking a broader regional or in some cases statewide approach to managing mass illness and vaccinations and all the things that a public health department can do. So one possibility might be to look at studying a regional partnership, which we have in many other contexts, for example, with our airport. My final question, and I don't know if this would be for you, Captain Baumgartner, or perhaps our city manager could chime in. If we were to do a feasibility study, what would be the cost to the city to conduct that study?
Right now, we're estimating roughly around $25,000. That's what Santa Clarita approved as far as a similar study.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's all my questions for now.
Great. I'll weigh in, and then I'll ask my colleagues to put a motion in a second to further the discussion and give staff direction. My thoughts watching the budget where we're at and looking at other priorities of our city, whether it's a sustainable coordinator that's been discussed by a council member, or whether it's bringing in additional resources to our planning department because it takes 8 months for somebody to wait to add on a bedroom. When I'm reading the report preparing for tonight's council meeting, I'm looking at the city of Pasadena. It's $15 million added to their general fund budget, and that adds 98 employees. So just being honest and upfront with everybody, so we hire a medical director at over $240,000 or $50,000 because of their experience and background, and then we have to hire mid-level managers. We have to get real estate because we've got to, get certain types of clinics so our residents can go. This agenda item came in because people were very upset of what the county initiated. But in fairness to trying to have an open mind on the discussion, I seem to be very open to partnering, like maybe a tri-regional medical director with our other cities, including the city of San Fernando. I mean, we already have partnership with the fire department. Councilmember Talamantes was on the forefront with the Verdugo Fire Dispatching. We also have partnerships with our scientific investigation lab through our police department. We have mutual aid agreements. This is something that I believe is worth studying and putting $25,000, but knowing that this is not a quick decision that's going to happen overnight, because it's a lot of research, and we as the council members really have to think about that decision. So I agree with Council Member Talamantes' point of view. I mean, Vice Mayor Talamantes' point of view that, you know what, let's study it. If we don't decide to do it today, at least it's done. And a future council, a future city manager, 10, 15 years, they might want to revisit this. But I still look at the size of our city. We're 17 square miles. We have 107,000 people. Is the cost, just using Pasadena's number for the discussion, $15 million, really a decision we should be taking on if we wanted to move that route, looking at our other priorities, because we still have, homeless issues that a council member wants to bring up, and acquiring, wraparound services that we keep talking about. So this is great discussion, and I'm going to support if somebody wants to bring the motion up of the feasibility, but I really like to ask whoever's going to make the motion to please consider a partnership with our other cities like we've done in the past. So I turn it over. I see Vice Mayor Talamantes, you first brought the idea, followed by Councilmember Anthony.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I agree. I like your clarification. But my recommendation to my colleagues is not to implement a health department right now. Okay, that's way down the road. I'm talking about initiating a feasibility study just to get answers to some of our questions. Just to get answers to some of the unknowns, right? And then have it in place, have it in your back pocket as a tool for down the road. And like it's been mentioned already, it takes years. It'll take years because you have to go to different levels for approval. They have to check some balances. Do you have the right things? So I understand years to accomplish this. But my recommendation to my colleagues is not to implement a health department tomorrow. My recommendation is to just get the study started and let's see what comes back, and including a regional approach with San Fernando, possibly include Glendale, reach out to Glendale, see if we can be regional. I mean, as it is, we're already regional under the LA County Department of Health, right? If that's not regional, that's like 88, 86 cities, and it's not working. I mean, obviously, that's why we're pursuing this feasibility study, in my opinion. Maybe there's something better. But anyway, if there's any further discussion, I'd love to make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, before you make the motion, Councilmember Anthony, you have the mic.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask one more question for Mr. Baumgartner. What year did you say LA County Health Department was created?
The year that it was created, I don't have an exact year that it was created. It was created in the early 1900s. It was originally formed as the LA County Hospital Department, and then eventually became the LA County Department of Health Services. And the LA County Department of Public Health broke off from the LA County Department of Health Services in the early 2000s to form its own
Okay,
separate
so-
department.
Well, let me ask you this. So Burbank was a city in 1911. Did we ever at any time have our own independent health department, or were we always under the auspices of the county?
We were always under the auspice of the county. The cities that had their own health department were all earlier incorporations. Pasadena and Long Beach were among the first 6 incorporated cities within the county in the late 1800s. The LA County Hospital Department was formed right around the end of the 1800s, like 1890, in formation of the St. Vincent's of de Paul Hospital, which we now know as St. Vincent's Hospital, which became the first county hospital.
Can I just say, this is an amazing report. Thank you for doing all this history. This is incredible. So we were a city in 1911. We had the Spanish flu in 1918, and we still didn't create our own health department back then. So for my money, it doesn't seem all too different now. But to Councilmember Springer's point, there are 2 other local cities that are doing their own feasibility studies. If I could, I would like to see this come back at a later time. We can spend that $25,000 on a lot of other stuff immediately. And even if we do a study and we want to change what we do, it's going to take a few years. So if the other council members are up to it, let's give it 6 months, wait for the pandemic to blow over. If we're still, gung-ho with this, I say let's move forward then. That would be my recommendation. See what the other cities are doing. Just put a pin in it for now.
Councilmember Talamantes, I guess that's your opening for the motion. Mike.
All right, Mike. I'd like to move staff's recommendation to conduct a feasibility study for the establishment of a local health department in the city of Burbank and creation of a health officer position.
And who would like to make the second? Somebody make the second. Thank you, Councilmember Anthony, for making the second. I see that Colgate smile. No? You don't want to make the second? Come on, you said you were willing to support it.
Not now.
Okay, all right. Anybody would like to make the second? I'll make the second. Madam, any further discussion, council members? Seeing none? No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilmember Schultz. You have the mic.
Well, it's probably more a question to our city manager, but I just want to confirm, do we have availability room in the budget for a feasibility study of $25,000 right now?
Yes, we'd either use existing budget if we have it, or just take from fund balance, which we do have. So, we have it.
I appreciate the answer, and I guess the question to my colleagues is I'm really torn on this one, because on the one hand, Vice Mayor Talamantes, you raised such a good point. I mean, I really do want to see this study go forward and take place. But Mr. Mayor, you also raise a good point in that we have to be balancing priorities right now, and how do we choose to spend that money? And I know that $25,000 may not seem like a lot of money in the grand scheme of our budget, but with all the other things we have talked about doing, I mean, there are other ways that we can spend that money right now. So I just don't know if any of my colleagues have any thoughts on that, but I guess where I'm at the moment is I'm kind of leaning towards Councilmember Anthony's way right now, that I want to see the study go forward. I just don't know if that's how I want to commit the $25,000 at the moment. And then I understand, of course, that that's just an estimate as our city manager. So,
Councilmember Anthony.
Would Councilmember Talamantes be open for an amendment to bring the study session vote back in 6 months? Just see what everyone else is doing. Let's put it back on the agenda in the summer and vote on it then.
What do we accomplish by seeing what everybody else is doing? I mean,
we can see what
we're in this situation now. So if we're still in the same situation, then you'd be more receptive to the motion than in 6 months than you are now?
Well, I'd like to see what Beverly Hills and what Santa Clarita are doing. I mean, Pasadena may even come forward and not want to have their own health department anymore. You know, there's
well, if we don't pursue this any further, it dies right here. So
that's what I'm saying. Make a motion to bring it back 6 months from now, and then we'll take a vote then. Because I'd like to see the study. I just don't think the money's worth it right now in this moment.
Realistically, how much is $25,000 going to get you when you start looking at the other at the big scope of things.
It's about priorities. I mean, they're
Right, I understand. All right, I appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to move on with my motion.
You're going to withdraw your motion? Then I will withdraw my second. If nobody's willing to make a motion, then this agenda item dies. Councilmember Anthony.
I would like to make a motion to bring a second report back 6 months from now, including a report on the two reports from Santa Clarita and Beverly Hills, and then the updates from Pasadena's individual health department, and then move on from there.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to, I'm sorry, I think Councilmember Springer raised her hand first.
Madam Springer, go ahead. You have the mic.
For your comment, Mr. Schultz.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Springer. May I proceed, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please. You have the mic, sir.
The only thing I wanted, because Vice Mayor Talamantes posed a very fair question, and I wanted to at least answer it from my perspective. The only thing I think we might accomplish 6 months from now is we may have a slightly better picture of our financial condition, our budget moving forward. And so that's really the impetus for me personally. But I do very much agree with what you're saying. I don't want to see this idea die. I do want to move it forward. But I also understand that between now and June, we may have a better picture of Burbank's financial health for the next 5 years. And that will allow me to make a much better informed decision, I believe.
You know, I just...
Madam Springer, you have the mic.
Is that, I mean, I hope, I don't know how long it takes to do the study for Santa Clarita and Beverly Hills, but I think it would be very helpful to look at that to see if we need to move forward with ours. But maybe over the next 6 months, we can, and other cities in LA County can think of how the LA County Health Department could do better, could improve. I mean, we haven't had a pandemic in 102 years, and there are definitely things that could be done better. And maybe that's where the study should be, is how do we improve the regional health department? Just a thought.
It's a good thought. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. If we're ready, I'll ask the city clerk for a vote. Are all council members done discussing this issue?
Okay,
go ahead.
What is what's the motion?
Would the maker please state your motion one more time?
Yeah, I move that we bring back the same discussion point of a feasibility study for an independent health department or an independent health officer 6 months from now, and include any reports on other cities that are also searching for the same or similar departments.
And the second still, I'm sorry, question from Vice Mayor Talamantes.
Yeah, real quick, Mr. Mayor, I want to ask the city manager, do we have $25,000 available now?
Yes.
Can we find it?
Yeah, we would either take it from fund balance or use existing budget dollars.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Councilmember Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Councilmember Springer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Talamantes?
In the spirit of cooperation, yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Frutos?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all council members for keeping a watchful eye on our budget. Thank you. Moving on to next item. Next item, number 6, adopt an ordinance to authorize and approve the amendment to a contract between the City Council of the City of Burbank and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System, CalPERS, to include additional employee contributions toward their pension for City Council executives, city clerks, city treasurer, appointed officials, department managers, and unrepresented mid-managers, management services division services.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. Betsy McClinton with the Management Services Department. Tonight, I'm here to request that the Council adopt an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the City's contract with the California Public Employees Retirement System, also known as PERS. The intent of the PERS contract amendment under consideration tonight is to enable classic council members, executives, including the clerk and treasurer, and unrepresented mid-managers to pay additional contributions toward their pensions in compliance with the City Council's compensation policy. In January 2018, the City Council adopted revisions to the city's financial policy regarding compensation so that city employees will evenly share, so that city and employees will evenly share the normal cost of employee pensions. The normal cost of employee pensions is determined annually by PERS based on an actuarial report. Currently, employees who became members of PERS on or after January 1st, 2013, known as PEPRA employees, pay half of the normal cost of their pensions. However, employees who were hired prior to that date, known as classic employees, do not pay half the normal cost of their pension and instead currently pay the amount required by PERS law. For classic police and fire members, for executive classic police and fire members, that is 9%. And for our classic miscellaneous unrepresented members, that is 8%. The City Council's financial policies regarding all employees paying half the normal cost of their pension are beneficial because they eliminate inequity among employees with regard to pension contributions, they improve the city's 5-year financial forecast, and they ensure that the city's long-term financial stability is assured into the future. If fully implemented by fiscal year 2023, staff estimates employees paying half the normal cost of their pension will save the city approximately $3.5 million annually. So ever since that time, staff has been working diligently to implement the council's compensation policy ever since it was adopted. In order for the classic city council members, executives, and unrepresented management employees to begin paying half the normal cost of their pensions, pursuant to the council's compensation policy, the city must amend its contract with PERS. The PERS contract amendment process is a multi-step process. You will, of course, remember that I was before the council in December to adopt the PERS resolution declaring the city's intent to amend the contract and introduce the ordinance that is before you tonight. Tonight's action by the council represents the final step required by PERS of the city's contract. With the city council's action tonight, these classic employees will begin paying the additional contributions towards their pension. I want to note that the PERS contract amendment process required secret ballot votes by the classic city council members, executives, and unrepresented management employees. So I'd like to thank our employees for participating and successfully completing those votes. Finally, I want to note that tonight's contract amendment does not change the pension benefit, but rather increases the amount some classic employees are paying toward their pension. Therefore, there is no cost associated with this contract amendment, but rather the general fund will realize a savings of $33,598 for the remainder of fiscal year 2021 and $87,354 annually thereafter once the amendment is complete. With that, I recommend the City Council adopt the proposed ordinance authorizing an amendment to the contract between the city and CalPERS. If completed, tonight's action represents significant movement towards fully implementing the council's policy that employees make additional contributions towards their pension. I do also want to add that I've been before the council several times over the last year doing these contract amendments, and we are almost at the conclusion. We have one more group. BCA has agreed to pay half their normal costs as part of their contract. So in a little while, in about a year or so, I'll be back before the council to do that last group. But for now, we have completed this process with tonight's action by the council, and the council and the employee groups have made significant contributions or significant progress towards implementing the city council's policy. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and of course would entertain the proposed motions.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Councilmember Anthony.
So with this motion, now the city council member has to do what everybody else in the city is doing. I don't know if that's fair. That's
That is fair. If we don't have any classic council members now, but should we in the future, a classic council member would have to pay half the normal costs, the same as any other employee. Exactly.
Well, the vice mayor's a classic. Okay, any other questions on this item? Seeing none, Madam City, sorry. Councilmember Schultz, I apologize. Make the
My
motion.
apologies. I was going to make the motion, but I don't
Please.
want to end discussion early.
No, go ahead. Make the motion, sir. Move me along.
Okay, thank you very much. And I just wanted to commend staff on the great report, and I think this is a good step for the city to take. So with that, I move that we adopt an ordinance of the Council of the City of Burbank authorizing an amendment to the contract between the City of Burbank and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System to add cost sharing pursuant to Government Code Section 20516 for city council members, executives, including city clerk, city treasurer, appointed officials, department managers, and unrepresented mid-managers.
Is there a second? Vice Mayor Talamantes makes the second. Any further discussion, council members? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, can you please call for the vote?
Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Talantes,
Yes.
Councilmember Anthony,
Yes.
Councilmember Springer,
Yes.
Mayor Frutos.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to thank the whole council, and especially our two new council members, as this was something very dear to the former prior council members to, work on our budget and, watch the people's money, but, get employees across the board to pay their, normal cost of their pension. Thank you to my new council members, and thank you to my classic vice mayor that we have, and Sharon Springer. Thank you so much for, keeping our word to the members of the public who voted on Measure P. Yes, Councilmember Anthony.
I just wanted to ask Ms. McClintock, this was Cindy Giraldo's baby that she's been passing along to all of us this time frame. Is that correct? If my understanding of that is, or no? Something different.
The financial services director, Ms. Giraldo, was absolutely involved with pursuing half the normal in incorporating what we were achieving into the financial forecast and showing the positive impact that it had on our forecast. So yeah, absolutely, Ms. Giraldo was a great partner, as finance always has been with management services in achieving this.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Springer.
It's been Ms. McClinton's baby, and she's done a great job with it.
Okay, council members, moving us right along. This is a time for brief council comments, including reporting out on council committee assignments. Which member would like to go first? Councilmember Springer.
This wasn't really an assignment, but I just want to report out that I attended Senator Portantino's webinar today on the CareReliefGrant.com program. And so I just encourage all of our small business owners to please check CareReliefGrant.com and apply for this grant. And also, if you have questions about it, the recording of the webinar is on Senator Portantino's site, sd25.senate.ca.gov. Okay, so good luck with filing those applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Springer. I'll just pick Councilmember Anthony. You're next.
All right. So on Thursday, December 17th, we had the Board of Directors for TVEA. I believe Mr. Schultz was there with me.
Can you please say what TVEA is for the members of the public?
Okay. Going to make me read the whole thing out loud?
Please. They don't know what that is, sir.
Of course.
That would be the Valley Economic Alliance, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. But members of the public, thank you. All right.
Valley Economic Alliance. And I had a meeting with orientation with our esteemed city attorney. I also had a meeting with our esteemed city treasurer, Crystal Palmer. So that was a very exciting meeting for me, learning about how our money works here in the city. I had the next day I had a meeting with Community Development Department. And on Monday, you were all there. We all filmed the New Year's, the council greeting. That was fun on the hill right in front of the council building, City Hall. And then that evening, I attended the Burbank Transportation Commission meeting as the liaison. I was previously on the Transportation Commission meeting. They thought they got rid of me, sticking me on city council, but no, I was back. And then I had a meeting with the finance department the next day and the police department the day after that. And lastly, just yesterday, I had a wonderful refresher on the Brown Act including changes to the law governing elected officials in the state of California with regards to social media. And I believe the rest of you also had that document shared around. So, I mean, there's going to be some changes on how we like and share and retweet and post on Facebook because, you know, it can be seen as a Brown Act violation, commenting and sharing and you know, sort of pointing out your opinion without meaning to and intention, especially with interactions with other council members. So that was very interesting. And, you know, it's a brave new world moving forward. And, you know, we got to be careful on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Council Member Schultz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep my comments brief. I had similar meetings to those described by Mr. Anthony. I just want to note three quick ones. With regards to the Valley Economic Alliance meeting that was on December 17th, I would just like to note that their annual event, Valley of the Stars Gala, will be upcoming on January 15th. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you'll be there, Mr. Mayor. Second, I had a fantastic meeting with our new chair and CEO of the Chamber on December 18th to talk about how we can help our local businesses navigate this pandemic together. And finally, on December 21st, I attended, as you did as well, Mr. Mayor, our Sustainable Burbank Commission as its new liaison. And I'd just like to note that they have an event coming up this Sunday, I believe, a screening of Kiss the Ground, followed by a Q&A and community panel discussion. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Talamantes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All the commissions that I'm liaison to were dark because of the holidays. So I just want to, wish everybody a happy new year and moving forward into 2021, see what it's got in store for us. And welcome the two of my two new colleagues, Councilmember Anthony and Councilmember Schultz. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I also attended the Burbank Sustainable Commission, which was reported out by Councilmember Schultz. On Christmas Day, I got up at old dark 30 hours and I went and I met with our folks that work for sanitation that go out and pick up our trash on Christmas Day. I just wanted to wish them a Merry Christmas. I just want everybody to know that they practice social distancing. They meet outside before they get in their assigned trucks, and their meeting is extremely short. Where in prior years that I would go to, we'd meet inside the break room, we share some tamales, and before they head out. But I wanted to reassure members of the public that they're definitely following the safety guidelines. But I definitely was there Christmas morning just to thank them and appreciate, from the entire council, how much we appreciate their hard work, coming to work on Christmas Day and making sure that our trash cans are picked up. I had a great meet and greet with our newest council member, Schultz. I appreciate the back and forth, but most important, we just talked about the city council decorum, Robert's Rule of Order, and the city manager council member relationship. So I do appreciate council member Schultz reaching out to me, and that's it. Now is the time for the introduction of additional agenda items, council members. Do any members of the council wish to, council member Schultz, you have the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just have one item tonight. I would like a first step report from city staff on the possibility of implementing an urgency ordinance that would cap third-party delivery fees that are charged by companies like Uber Eats or DoorDash, Grubhub upon our local restaurants.
Got it. Anything else? Councilmember Anthony. Go ahead, Councilmember Anthony.
I've got quite a few, actually, so bear with me. One, is there a way we could get a report on how the parking enforcement is going? I know we went back to street sweeping and all of that. Could we just get an update on how that's going? Or are there more tickets or less tickets? That kind of.
City manager got it.
Okay, and then I had a wonderful discussion with the city treasurer about public banking. Is there a way to get a report on that new state law, AB 857?
Copy that. City manager's got that request. Next.
And then do we have any update coming on the Scott Motel and what fell through with that and how that's working out? Do we have anything coming? I'd love to just see a quick.
I believe we got a report that came to the council in our mail. Maybe is
February 9th, we were bringing back some information related to that already. So,
And then, Councilmember Anthony, did you get the report from the city manager's office in your Friday night, Saturday morning package that talked about that?
This past Friday?
The report? No, a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was before. Can we get that report to our two new council members just to make sure? They'll resend you the email, sir. No more discussion. We can't discuss it. Our city attorney just gave me the eye, like, don't go there. Okay, next one.
Someone called in about the One Burbank fiber optic. Can we get a report on that? On who that serves, how that's working?
Mr. City Manager?
yeah, we could provide a memo. We've done that several times, so we could definitely dust that off and provide you the latest information related to that, because we do get that request often.
Next
Okay,
question.
I remember a report a couple of years ago.
That's the discussion. Can't get into that. City attorney just looked at me.
And then can we get a report on what's going on at Burbank Unified and their funding? Like what kind of deal they're dealing with? Is that allowed? Can we do that?
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better for you to reach out to the chairman of the school board to get their budget? But again, don't answer me that. It's a discussion. Stop. I just can't go any further than that. Next request.
Is there a way to find out, it may not have to be a report actually, maybe it's just to me, but how the buildings, the city-owned buildings, the city hall and CDD are ADA compliant, especially with regards to the bathrooms?
We could provide you a memo. We've done that in the past, so we could refresh that.
Okay. And then do we have any updates coming on Measure P and those finances, those specific finances for Measure P?
That would be included as part of your normal quarterly report, mid-year report, budget. You'll get that every time.
Okay, awesome. And then is there a way to find out how many business owners own their property and how many are renters? I know we have statistics on residential, but is there a way to find out for commercial purposes?
I don't know how that's an additional agenda item. Perhaps we could talk offline to see what you're exactly looking for, but unless that's yeah.
Right, and here's my last one, and I'm just throwing it out there. Is there a way we could agendize a discussion on changing how the Burbank Water and Power, or if they want to change the way they do their shutoffs? Would that have to come back?
So you would like a first step on how BWP handles the shutoffs?
Yes.
Okay, we could add that one.
Okay.
Anything else? You're done, sir?
I'm done. That was enough.
Councilmember Springer?
Thank you. No items.
Vice Mayor Telemontes?
Sufficient. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let me give you my list. Ready, Mr. City Manager? Let's have a great 2021. We will now adjourn to Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. for a regular scheduled city council meeting through an online meeting process. The public may view the meeting online or on television and will be able to provide public comment on the following three ways: by leaving an e-comment on the city's webpage, and the email address is burbankca.gov/e-comments. Again, if you'd like to provide comments for the next city council meeting, go to burbankca.gov/e-comments. By emailing the city council directly at citycouncil@burbankca.gov. Again, that email address for the entire city council is citycouncil@burbankca.gov. Or by calling in directly at the council meeting at 818-238-3335. Again, that phone number to call during a council meeting is 818-238-3335. Thank you and good night.